The Aeldari path of the warrior is walked entirely by the Aspect Warriors, members of the shrines founded not long after the species' fall. Whilst not all are found on every craft world, each of them can call upon some form of elite warriors specialised in one aspect of war. The founders of these shrines were the Asurya, a group of warriors brought together under a single leader not long after the fall, taking on the aspects of Kayla Menshakain. In our previous log, we explored the origins of these individuals as well as some of their members. This log will address the rest of them, both legendary and lost. This is the second and final part of the tale of the Aeldari Phoenix Lords. This is Tactica Imperialis, and welcome to 40k Stories. The previous log discussed the founding of the Asurya, as well as a sermon, Jane Zar, and Malgan Ra. As we finished that log with the Harvester of Souls, it is only right that we begin this one by looking at his brother of sorts, known as Baharoth. In truth, the pair are not at all related as far as we know. It's more of a symbolic brotherhood. Baharoth is Malgan Ra's brother in the same way that a sun and a moon are brothers. So astronomically it's actually kind of tenuous, but alright, sure, Aeldari are gonna Aeldari. Baharoth's origins are clouded more than any Phoenix Lord we've explored so far, but it is speculated that he came from a craft world called Aeon. No, I haven't heard of it either, but the story goes that a Khornate warband utterly trashed and pretty much destroyed it. This would have had to have happened at least a few centuries after Baharoth became a Phoenix Lord though, since the Horus Heresy came after the fall and the leader of said warband was an Astartes. Whatever the exact nature of his origins, Baharoth is now perhaps the Phoenix Lord that actively hates Chaos the most, and it is said that he has taken part in vast numbers of raids and assaults against them. His name translates from Aeldari to mean Cry of the Wind, and he somewhat honours the moniker by being the only Phoenix Lord to fly without a mount. He doesn't have biological wings like, say, Sanguinius or the Drakari Scourges, but his warsuit bears him aloft on a complex jump pack designed to look like wings. This striking design was transferred from the Cry of the Wind to the aspect shrine he founded, known as the Swooping Hawks. Exactly which aspect of Cain they embody is unknown, at least to me, but the name is taken from Aeldari mythology. The Swooping Hawks of legend were hunting birds containing the spirits of murdered Aeldari, hovering over and presumably getting revenge on their killers. Armed with their wings, the Aspect Warriors are able to strike with swiftness unparalleled amongst unmounted Aspect Warriors, using their grenades and las blasters to harass and pick apart their foes. They also act as forerunners or outriders to many Aeldari hosts, as they are quieter and a damn sight more manoeuvrable than jet bikes, though this all comes at the cost of reduced armour compared to, say, a Dire Avenger. Baharoth, on the other hand, has no such concerns about his armour versus the other Asurya. Said to have been a sermon's finest pupil, which I would have assumed to have been Jane Zar, but here we are, the Cry of the Wind moves with the grace of a breeze and the force of a hurricane. At range, he uses a Hawk's Talon, an upgraded version of the las blaster of the Swooping Hawks that is also wielded by some Exarchs. His signature weapon, however, is the Shining Blade. This relic power sword was believed to have been forged for Baharoth specifically, more reflections with Malgan Ra there, who went on a bloody quest to get his Malgatar made, as well as their aspects being the arguably most and least mobile. The forge of the Shining Blade was apparently a supernova, well, one that had gone off a long time ago but still remained hot enough to serve the purpose. Sources suggest that the daughters of Vol, the Aeldari smith god, were the ones to create it, but whether we take that literally or it's a name of a bone singer smithing cult, I honestly couldn't tell you at this point. Aeldari myth and reality seem to cross over quite a lot. Either way, the Shining Blade lives up to its name, cutting through foes and seemingly, well, shining to disorient those it strikes, or something like that anyway. I haven't had the pleasure of being hit with it. Like many of the Phoenix Lords, Baharoth's last known appearance was the battle in the Webway, aiding the Inari following the ambush by the Thousand Suns. However, at least before the rise of Yvraine, many hypothesized that Baharoth's final fate was already predetermined. There exists an ancient tale of prophecy amongst the Aeldari known as the Asurya. In its final acts, the Phoenix Lords gather for what is known as the Rana Dandra, the final battle with Chaos said to destroy materium and immaterium alike. The tale describes Baharoth as the first Phoenix Lord to die in the Rana Dandra, though with the rise of Iniad and the new plans of the Ynnari, who knows whether that will come to pass. Maybe avoiding the Rana Dandra and defeating Chaos without mutual annihilation is the reason the Asurya are now aligned with Yvraine. The Aeldari have long prophesied their own annihilation, so any way out that may destroy Slaanesh without destroying them is probably worth trying in some eyes. Whilst Baharoth was supposed to meet his end in the Rana Dandra, this apocalyptic battle is more closely linked to another Phoenix Lord, Fuegan, or Fugan, I've heard both. Nothing is known of his origins before the formation of the Asurya, at least as far as I'm aware. But that does nothing to diminish the legend of Fuegan, meaning the Burning Lance. In fact, the Phoenix Lord is something of a hero on many craft worlds, with some going as far as to suggest he embodies the way of the Aspect Warrior, and particularly the Exarch, best of all his kin. Fuegan is obsessive and laser-focused on his task, that being the annihilation of the Aeldari's foes. But unlike others, he takes a much more precise and systematic approach. He believed in harmony through selective destruction rather than total annihilation, and it was said that his merciless work was forming a sort of unbroken chain across the Milky Way. As for why this was happening, Fuegan and his aspect are very closely tied to the dragon, a mythical creature seemingly tied intrinsically to destruction. The theory went that the chain would be used to bind the dragon, which given the pseudo-real nature of much Aeldari myth, I'm inclined to believe possible. But I suspect the Cicatrix Maledictum and such has broken the chain by now. Speaking of aspects, Fuegan's aspect warriors are known as the Fire Dragons, presumably in reference to the myth we just discussed. Unlike their Phoenix Lord, a seemingly pitiless but precise destroyer, the Fire Dragons take much more pleasure in their work, which often is more about total destruction. I suspect therefore that Fuegan's mantra of precision was more to do with only destroying certain armies or worlds rather than following the fully precise examples set by, say, Malgan Ra. Either way, the Fire Dragons are more than capable of bringing their own version of the dragon's fire on their foes. Whilst only their Exarchs have been known to wield actual flamethrowers, the Aspect Warriors all use heat-based weapons, notably the Melter Bomb grenades and the fusion gun that is essentially a better melter gun. This of course necessitates close-ranged engagements compared to many other aspects, and so Fire Dragons will have tougher armour to compensate. Whilst they will happily destroy anything, I suspect, the Fire Dragons are typically used by an Autarch or Farseer as an anti-tank or anti-fortification specialist. No surprise really given their equipment. Fuegan wields similar tools in many ways. At range he uses the Exarch weapon known as a Fire Pike, which is essentially a fusion gun but with a long barrel. In some ways, it actually kind of resembles a lance, which may help explain the use of Fuegan the Burning Lance as a name. But unlike any fire dragon to my knowledge, Fuegan has a melee weapon too, the Fire Axe. This weapon was forged during or around the time of the Fall, and much like Baharoth's shining blade still shines, the Fire Axe still glows with the fire of its forge and is still wreathed by flame. Legends say that scores of greater demons have met their banishment at the hands of the axe, a huge number being felled on a single world. Fuegan joined Ulthwé Farseer Eldrad Ulthran on the Exodite world Haran, defending it from a titanic chaos invasion so costly that the world became known as Haran Shemash, the world of blood and tears. The battle on Haran, however, was Fuegan's first appearance since he had been lost, perhaps presumed forever, during an attack on the shrine of Asur itself, where the Asur were founded. He could not save it from the individual we'll discuss later, but he refused to flee and was not seen again until his return on Haran. Aside from those incidents and the combined efforts in the webway with the Ynnari, Fuegan has not really been seen all that much. The common belief is that he wanders the webway like a hunter, cleansing its ancient tunnels and corridors of threats and foes. Whether this is fueled by a desire to reopen parts of the webway or is just simply part of his personal methodology is unclear. I mentioned earlier, however, about Fuegan's ties to the Rana Dandra, so let me explain. The Asurya describes Fuegan's role perhaps better than even Baharroth's, and if true, it suggests just how much influence Fuegan, said to be one of Asurman's first pupils, presumably other than Jane Zar, wields with the Phoenix Lords. It states that the Burning Lance will call the Asurya together before the Rana Dandra begins, perhaps not as their leader, but certainly as a voice that they will all heed. He is also said to be the very last Phoenix Lord to fall in the battle, perhaps not the last Aeldari overall, but certainly last of the Asurya. Whatever you wish to interpret from that in terms of symbolism, it certainly gives an indication about the Burning Lance's power as much as anything else. Whilst all of the original Asurya are still alive, unsurprising given their reincarnation gimmick, there is one aspect shrine which has actually changed Phoenix Lords at some point during its history. That shrine is the one founded by an individual known today as Aha, the Fallen Phoenix. What his original epithet was, I cannot say. Little to nothing is known of Aha before his training under Asurman or what he did after the founding of his shrine. But at some point later in history, Aha was either corrupted or converted to another viewpoint and allegiance. The common belief is that he became Drakari, though his actions hint at chaotic corruption as well. This fall was revealed when Aha launched an assault on the Shrine of Asur, home to all the original founding shrines created by the Phoenix Lords. He did not stand against the other Asurya alone, however, as he was somehow able to summon a horde of demons to his side. The other Phoenix Lords were driven off, or in the case of Fuegan, disappeared, and the first shrine was desecrated and destroyed. This left the Aspect Warriors of Aha's shrine with a problem, as either they had no Phoenix Lord or they would be damned alongside their founder by choice or association. In the end, a new Phoenix Lord was either chosen, elected, created, or something else, with the right falling to Aha's brightest pupil, the vicious Karandras, the Shadow Hunter. Said shrine is the one known as the Striking Scorpions, close combat specialists just like the Howling Banshees of Jane Zar. However, this is where the similarities end between the aspects, as the original Striking Scorpions traded speed for a bit more stealth and a lot more vicious punch. The name comes either from myth or from a creature from the Aeldari Empire, said to be able to kill foes much larger than itself thanks to its sting. And whilst the Aspect Warriors are not designed for killing large targets, they are adept hunters nonetheless. In the Aha era, the Striking Scorpions were murderers extraordinaire, though their stealth or patience may have been somewhat lacking, we're not sure. It was Karandras who learned and then taught the need for patience among the shrines, tempering the Scorpions into more rounded hunters with the stealth required for such a task. That doesn't mean that the Striking Scorpions are any less murderous when unleashed on their prey, but getting close and picking the right moment is likely easier now thanks to the Shadow Hunter. When battle is joined, the Aspect Warriors use their Scorpion chainswords to do much of the work, but they possess a second sting at short range in the form of their Mandiblasters. These neurally activated fletchet launchers are built into the helms of the Striking Scorpions, hence the reference to insect mandibles, and when melted into plasma by laser fire, they become as deadly as any sting. Like many Phoenix Lords, Karandras wields similar but upgraded equipment, with his armor's Mandiblasters being especially deadly. Known as the Scorpion's Bite, this set of Mandiblasters can shred even Astarte's power armor, so I'm told, and whilst the Shadow Hunter is more proficient with a chainsword and the Exarch weapon known as the Scorpion's Claw, it is his Bite that is the most renowned. Mind you, Karandras' inheritance of the mantle of Phoenix Lord did not necessarily come easily. In 928 M41, it is known that he and Ahra met in combat on the lost craft world of Xandros. The pair duelled for 17 consecutive days as far as I'm aware, but unlike the duels between Jainzar and Drazhar centuries later, one of which was of course on Xandros, there was no definitive winner. One could argue that Ahra won, as eventually Karandras, realising he could not win against his mentor, used his increased stealth to seemingly become one with the shadows and disappear in retreat. But the Shadow Hunter had realised this long before he disappeared, and had spent much of the duel goading and antagonising the fallen Phoenix to send him into a frenzy. His disappearance came at a critical moment, leaving Ahra so enraged that he slaughtered everyone else present, which was mostly, if not entirely, his own followers. That was the last time Ahra has been confirmed present on any battlefield, though rumours persist that he leads the incubus cults of the Drukhari. Recent events, however, suggest that the incubus known as Drazhar may well be a Phoenix Lord, as he was resurrected by an incubus donning his armour following his death on Xandros at the hands of Jainzar. Whether Drazhar is Ahra remains unknown, and since Drazhar never speaks, I doubt we'll ever know, but it would make sense to me at the very least. As for Karandras, aside from his exploits on Xandros, he's only been seen sporadically. He joined Malgan Ra and Baharoth for the siege of Craftwater Latok, but since the battle alongside the Ynnari, I have no records as to his whereabouts. Whilst the 6 or 7 Phoenix Lords discussed so far are by far the best known and most famous, there are actually several more aspect shrines and Phoenix Lords than you might expect. For example, I wager many of you have never heard of the Phoenix Lord Irilith, the Shade of Twilight, and his aspect, the Shadow Spectres. The first shrine of the Spectres was apparently not founded on Asurya alongside the others, but instead was located on a craft world known as Mimera, a small cohort stuck in the fight of their lives against the Orcs. Irilith taught them his ways of war as well as establishing the Shadow Spectres, a shrine that used a portable version of the tank hunting prism cannon and combined it with a measure of stealth and manoeuvrability. However, the aspect would never become widespread despite being a pseudo-synthesis of the Swooping Hawks, Dark Reapers and Fire Dragons, mainly because of Irilith's eventual fate. The Shade of Twilight left for the world of Bethalme, a response to a portent and a preemptive strike to protect Mimera. However, he and his host were never seen again, presumed lost or dead, causing the Shadow Spectre aspect to fall into decline without their Phoenix Lord to spread the shrines around. But of course, Irilith was not dead for good, he just needed to be found and resurrected like any other Phoenix Lord. And in M41, he was, on the Imperial world of Betalis III, which I assume was formerly known as Bethalme, but I cannot find records to prove it. A combined force from Mimera and Craftworld Latok alongside Aeldari Corsairs invaded the world, leading to a brutal campaign against the humans whilst they sought to locate and recover Irilith's armour. Eventually they succeeded, withdrawing not long after with the objective complete, leaving a battered, bemused and rather population depleted Imperial army in their wake. Sadly, Irilith has not been noted as being present since his presumed resurrection, which is a shame given his prowess at range or up close with his power glaive and prism blaster. Another Phoenix Lord who has been lost for a long time is Tanta, though unlike Irilith, the Tempest of Starlight has yet to return. Almost nothing is known of Tanta, but it is said that he was renowned amongst the Asurya, especially for his hubris. His disappearance is undated, but presumably was not all that recent, and came in a battle against a mighty Slaaneshi demon prince called Nekari that had once fought against the Emperor of Mankind. Tanta clashed with Nekari almost immediately after the demon had managed to slay a Sermon. Despite being a jet bike rider probably unsurpassed by any Aeldari, he was too late to save the hand of Asuryan. However, he was able to best Nekari, fighting with an almost blind rage to banish the demon. The battle itself didn't cause the Tempest of Starlight to be slain in return, but for reasons unknown, he disappeared not long after. He even left behind his signature weapon, the Celestial Lance, which is occasionally wielded by the various shrines of his aspect. Said aspect is the Shining Spears, a rare but dangerous breed of jet bike pilots that can hit and run and strike with devastating punch. They are of course ridiculously skilled at piloting their craft, and their laser lances are actually high-powered, exceptionally short-range laser weapons that can blast through armour. They're actually pretty useless as melee weapons, which helps to explain the hit-and-run approach taken by the Shining Spears. I suspect, given the disappearance of their Phoenix Lords, that the Shining Spears are becoming an even rarer sight as time goes by, much like the Shadow Spectres when they lost Irilith for centuries if not millennia. Mind you, they are at least widespread despite their low numbers even on large craft worlds, so don't expect them to go away anytime soon. The last Phoenix Lord we know to exist is an individual known as Amon, whose aspect warriors known as the Eagle Pilots are able to wield an aircraft with great skill and maneuverability. However, aside from their name and the name of their aspect, we know nothing of Amon, which is definitely a shame. But there is actually one more aspect shrine, the Warp Spiders, named and modelled after creatures that swarm any intruders to a craft world's infinity circuit. Using teleportation devices known as Warp Spider Jump Generators, the spiders can make micro jumps through the materium itself, putting their bodies and souls at risk to strike from unexpected angles with their infantry shredding death spinners. However, despite being an official aspect shrine, the Warp Spiders have no known or recognised Phoenix Lord. I don't just mean that theirs is an unknown warrior that went missing or has been forgotten, they actually have no Phoenix Lord. How this came to be, I don't know, and I've not exactly had chance to interview a sermon to get an understanding on the matter, but it doesn't seem to have affected the Warp Spiders the same way that the loss of Irilith affected the Shadow Spectres. There's a theory by the craft world K-Lore relating to an individual known as Lycosidae, the Wraith Spider. The myth around the Wraith Spider describes them as a rogue exarch, visiting K-Lore every few millennia to bring them peace and justice. These myths make no reference to the idea of the Wraith Spider being a Phoenix Lord for the Warp Spiders, but it's still speculated by others that Lycosidae is Asurya. As I say, there's no reference in the myths, and we would need first-hand accounts of a resurrection or some actual testimony to know for sure. And there you have it, the updated and expanded tales of the Phoenix Lords complete. Even now, with 2 full logs devoted to the Asurya, I still feel like this isn't an entirely complete set, but given the patchy tales of the Phoenix Lords, perhaps I shouldn't be surprised at that sentiment. Irrespective of that, these logs hopefully reinforce the importance of the Phoenix Lords and the Aspect Warriors. All of them are incredibly dangerous and powerful fighters, and even if they won't meet that symbolic end in the Rana Dandra anymore, they still likely have a pivotal role to play in the Aeldari's future and fate. And with that, we can now move on. This has been a monstrous project to compile, so I think next time we'll take a look at a slightly shorter tale. In fact, I know just the one. A tale of unpaid debts leading to alliances, treachery, and switching of sides for an Astartes chapter always marked by savagery. Thank you for watching Tactica Imperialis, and I'll see you all again. Goodbye.